Hello, Astro friends. This is Melanie today on October 17th, Monday, with the Astro news, with the weather and its medicine for the coming week, starting tomorrow, October 18th, and going until October 24th, the day before the partial solar eclipse new moon in early Scorpio. Yes, we feel a lot is building up here for release. The upcoming new moon will be a release eclipse. There's two parts of eclipses, release eclipses and seed eclipses. The release eclipse, the release eclipse is one that comes with the south node as this one. South node now in Scorpio since last December until July 2023. Such a draw to deep, dark energies, to deeper research, to going to the background of things, to look at what's behind everything and underneath everything. So much of that is really calling, yet also showing us that we can lose a lot of energy over it. That's the theme of the South Node. Yes, we are familiar. The world is full of corruption. There's lots of darkness. There's lots of shadow showing up everywhere in the outer world, in society, in politics, in governments, in others, in ourselves. So how do we acknowledge the shadow and yet come back from the underground, from the dark whirlpool onto the beautiful body of Mother Earth? And how do we embody freedom with Uranus in Taurus, with the North Node, with all of this? Themes for the South Node partial solar eclipse on October 25th, and the total lunar eclipse in Taurus. The moon will be in Taurus, mid-Taurus, and the sun in mid-Scorpio on November 8th. Yes, that is also US midterm election day on the day of the total lunar eclipse. Anyway, so just a brief glimpse about that because you already feel it. So here are some his astro context for it. Now, this week is building up to the partial solar eclipse, new moon, and also has a lot in store already that feeds into that eclipse. The major theme is perhaps the turnaround, the coming from retro to direct of Saturn. So Saturn goes out of retrograde where it's been since June, early June, and goes direct, goes forward from Earth perspective on October 22nd, 2022, and will be in forward motion until next June, I believe, as well. Let me just see. Don't have it here, but take my word for it, and I'll write an article about it. No, it's early May. It's actually May 2nd. No, wait a minute. That could be Pluto. Now I really want to know. So looking into the ephemeris, what does it say? It's June. It's mid-June for Saturn. And by then, Saturn will be actually already in early Pisces since March 8th. Just had a session with a client, and we were exploring all these changes that are coming down next March. Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, so I can say a few words about too. So March 2023, we see a lot. We see Saturn going into Pisces. We see Pluto going for the first time onto the cusp of Aquarius, right after the spring equinox, just for a few months, and then fully will go into Aquarius on January 21st, I believe, 2024. And also next March is the conjunction of Jupiter and Chiron in Aries. That's a lot, and we will go back to that in the process of building up to it, and definitely next March. So in the meantime, we are moving into Scorpio season. The Sun will move together with Venus, just following Venus a few hours after, on October 23rd into Scorpio from Libra. I call this cusp the tipping point because this is the time typically where choices are made, and choices lead to consequences and lead to change. Libra is all about choices. Lots of people call it action decisions, which is totally legit and happening, but there's the other side of it. Decision is rather a masculine yang Martian way of dealing with this, and the Venusian way is choices. You have a choice. There are options. Make a choice. Choose what's really good match for you. Choose what is you are going into relationship with, and rather than cutting off what you don't want anymore, seems more like a decision. Anyway, food for thought. And what else is going on this week? So we have the moon now waning, of course, towards the eclipse new moon, and the moon will move into Leo this evening, still in Cancer, and it's been quite intense actually yesterday and today with the Cancer moon. Lots of sensitivity. The moon squaring Chiron in Aries. Yes, lots of wounds, lots of rawness can come up with that, but also to show you where your medicine, your healing agency, inner healing agency really is, and a gift that as you move forward with it also inspires others. And the moon today opposes Pluto before she goes into Leo. So this afternoon we have the moon Pluto. Oh no, we had it this. Wait a minute. We have it at 1:56. So that's just in 1.5 hours. The moon is now building up to her opposition with Pluto before she goes void of course, and in the evening goes into Leo. So I say a few words about void of course moon because that's what we're into here shortly. And this one is a few hours long, quite a few hours long, from 1:56 p.m. on until 9:45 p.m. 8 hours. And that's for a void of course phase, sort of a little bit above average. The average void of course is like 6-7 hours. There's sometimes really short ones, there's sometimes really long ones. It can go up to 20 hours. It's pretty rare, but possible. What's going on with that? What does it really mean? So that is the phase when the moon has made her last contact, her last aspect with a planet before she enters a new sign. So in this case, it's Pluto, end of Capricorn, and then the moon is in this limbo phase, in this netherland, Noverland, before she goes into a new vibration. And that can be sort of a state of flux, a state of uncertainty, a state of opening, a state of magic. So it would be wonderful, this is what I do early afternoon here before having clients, to go for a walk and see where it takes you. And also an awesome time to take naps if you can, if it's a good time for it. Of course, best when the moon is void of course at night for dream time and for deep rest. And otherwise, it's a time to be open for what may come your way, rather than going with an agenda and say, okay, this is what needs to happen during that time. Often there's changes, and that's fine. And when there's moon of void, of course, and Mercury retro in combination, oh my goodness, that I would say is definitely a time to be open rather than believe and assume you know what's going to happen. And so the moon will be waning, is waning now, and will be in Leo from this evening on until the morning of the 20th of October, when she goes into Virgo. And in Leo these days, the main theme for the moon is her opposition with Saturn in Aquarius and her square with Mars in Taurus. That square of Saturn in Aquarius and Mars in Taurus has been once more highlighted, not exact, but close to exact, this month of October, for an integration of what we've had in 2021 three times. The main transit of 2021 was that square of Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, in Taurus. So the tension, the pressure, the conflict between security and being in rather a safe place societally, being responsible societally, and being aware of what's needed for our humanity and what's going on in the system. And on the other hand, Uranus in Taurus, a lot of pushback when it comes to bodily integrity and freedom, and also lots of disruption of economy and stability, which is all about Taurus, and disruption of nature, which is Taurus. Uranus will be still in Taurus until 2026, while Saturn will leave Aquarius in March 2023. So this Uranian thing is not over, and we're just halfway into it. And so now this month of October, there's another phase of integration and of hopefully moving forward. I say also to the theme of Saturn going direct again in Aquarius. My motto is also, what's the way forward for humanity as we are approaching the Aquarius age? It's a transition, of course, but there's lots of markers coming in now with Saturn in Aquarius, with Pluto entering Aquarius briefly next year and fully 2024. And at the same time, the Pisces age is, we are releasing it. We're moving out of it. It's ending. That's also indicated by Neptune in Pisces, that big outbreath of the Pisces age as everything is coming together, and maybe a big crescendo, a big chaos, if you will, but also a big release. And Neptune is still in Pisces till 2026, but in 2025 we already have a first glimpse of Neptune entering Aries. So this decade is really marking the transition out of the Pisces age into the Aquarius age. And when the moon in her monthly phase opposes Saturn in Aquarius, we're having this dilemma between the individual with Leo, the personal sovereignty with Leo, and the Aquarian group consciousness, playing out quite like a contrast, right? So making sure things are in balance with the opposition. Making sure also you do what your body and what nature calls you to do with Mars in Taurus. So that square and T-square will be up on Wednesday the 19th. As Venus will also square Pluto, and the Sun will also square Pluto, both from late Libra to Capricorn. So the 19th is actually quite a tension day. And what's with that square from Sun, Venus to Pluto? Mention it here as well. I was emphasizing on balances of power. Libra about balance and about choices that come hopefully from a balanced place. Also, the balance of power that maintains peace, and choices need to be made versus like drastically put, are we moving more into a war scenario globally, or are we going into peace negotiations? And how do we use, says Capricorn, time? How do we use resources, powerful resources, really well at this brink of choice point, tipping point phase within a bigger evolution of things? So, yeah, lots of tension going on. And up to us to also feed into this energy field, not with fear, not with more confrontation and polarization, but actually with feeding balance, harmony, peace, right relationships, beauty into it all. And yes, on that day, on the 19th, there's also the day of Mercury opposing, Mercury in mid Libra still, opposing Chiron in Aries. So again, also the theme of communication that is about synergy, about win-win, about balance, about harmony, about us understanding the other side. And Chiron in Aries would say being authentic in it all. It's not about fake or pleasing, it's about true meetings and encounters with others, while both people can be really truly themselves. And that can be a really good medicine. Then on October 22nd, as I said, Saturn goes direct, and the Sun and Venus will be conjunct before they go both into Scorpio. Yeah, and then on October 23rd is the day, the yearly date of the Sun, in this case also Venus, entering Scorpio, the tipping point. The Sun enters Scorpio exactly, if you like to do a ritual, and I say a bit more about that, a ceremony. The Sun will enter Scorpio actually, Venus enters Scorpio first, shortly after midnight on Sunday, October 23rd at 12:52 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. And Venus will be in Scorpio until November 17th, followed by the Sun at 3:36, just 3.5 hours after, no, 2.5 hours after, 3:36 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. Yes, and will be in Scorpio until November 23rd, I believe, as usual. So let's double check. October 23rd, the Sun, October 22nd. So it's all about 22nd this year. We had the entry into Libra on the 22nd of September, and 23rd into Scorpio, 22nd back into Sagittarius in the year 2022. So a lot about duality, polarity, but also bringing the two together in the one. And 2 + 2 is 4. So coming together in the heart. And the 23rd of October, when Venus, followed by the Sun, enter Scorpio, they will soon after go into quincunx. This is a 5-degree apart aspect with with Jupiter in Aries. So I say it again. Both Venus and the Sun are on the cusp to Scorpio will go into this 5-sign apart quincunx with Jupiter retrograde in early Aries, where Jupiter is going back actually into Pisces soon afterwards. When is that? That's on October, the week after, October 27th. So lots of cuspy energy, lots of change, lots of newness. We've seen that also in municipal elections in BC here. And how do we feel about all this? And how can we be at peace with the changes, with the choices we made, and with the changes that are underway? And how can we also, how do we feel about being in a whole new world, in a new situation, in a new life situation? And how can we see from a Jupiter perspective the not just the immensity of it, but also the gifts of it, and also the blessings of the new? And and how can we understand and see the bigger picture of what's going on with this new situation that we might be in? Yes, and Venus will be in Scorpio until November 17th when she enters Sagittarius. Venus in Scorpio, my motto for that, and I'll write a blog about it, is how deep is your love? And it takes our loving connections, our attractions deeper, under the skin, under the surface, under what's beautiful and nice, but more to soulful places, more to what's behind the veil. And this will be, of course, also the Samhain, Halloween, All Souls, All Saints, Dias de los Muertos, days of the year when Venus and the Sun are in Scorpio. More about that in the following week video, and also in the Astro News via email. Coming to a close here. One thing I still want to point out, two things still coming. One thing is I would highly recommend to do a ceremony, to do a ritual, a release ritual, a ceremony of surrender and letting go before the new moon, which is the partial solar release eclipse on the 25th of October. And to maybe find a place by a water body, especially since it's also Scorpio, deep water, and flowing water would be good too, to let go of what wants to have a really good burial and a good letting go into the transition and transformation it needs to go to. And on that note, I'd like to read the Sabian symbol for the partial solar eclipse degree, which is exactly at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So I use the Sabian symbols quite a bit for degrees of eclipses, of new moon, full moon, of planets changing direction. I will look at the one for Saturn turning direct, and you find that in the blog articles and also in the email Astro News. And you find the Sabian symbols also, by the way, if you don't have the book, which is out of print. This one is coming apart almost. You find that online under mindfire.ca. So the Sabian symbol for the partial solar eclipse release new moon is a delicate bottle of perfume lies broken, releasing its fragrance. The keynote is the accidental nature of opportunities that it impel one. So here's the newness actually in that impel one to break away from a past, the remembrance of which is still poignant and cherished. The new and greater realization usually demands the sacrifice of something which has brought loveliness and fragrance to a lesser form of living and feeling. Old feelings are poignantly remembered, even as one moves into a new and wider sphere of experience. Old relationships may be left behind, but the memory of their essential moments linger on, perhaps strong and nostalgic. This is the second stage of the 43rd sequence. It contrasts with the first in that it reveals the difficulty of dealing with the past as one enters into new realms of being. To the excitement of the novelty, so that was 1 degree Scorpio. It said a crowded sightseeing bus on a city street. And the key theme was a widening of experience, actually. So this one now contrasts with that one. And so the difficulty of dealing with the past as one enters into a new realm of feelings. To the excitement of novelty answers the memory of the graciousness of the past one has surrendered. So this is the invitation to actually actively, proactively contribute and be in that surrender via ceremony. And lastly today, I would love to pick a transformation card, very apropos all of this as well. Let's see what wants to come up. These cards I like to integrate, offer in private sessions, and they come from a friend of mine in Switzerland. Here's one example, the Four Seasons, which was picked this morning. They are being painted by Diana Varisco in Switzerland, and the messages also come from her source connection, and they're in English and French on the back of each card. So now I'm shuffling a card in a card for this week for the transformation we are initiated into as the Sun and Venus enter Scorpio to build up for the partial solar eclipse, release eclipse with Venus, release with love. Here's a card coming, shuffling, and now I'm picking this card. Okay, this is beautiful card. The card says writing. I write to communicate the word of my existence. By writing, I leave a trace of my journey on earth. Each day, through the letting go on paper, I understand more and more the meaning of my coming to this earth. Thank you for who I am. Beautiful card and message. So also writing would be wonderful in this process, and maybe also in preparation for a ceremony. If you'd like to write a letter to the past, to these feelings, to these experiences that are being transmuted now, that would be wonderful. I will do that too. Wish you well for this week, and see you in one of the Astro encounters, whether it will be in a private session or in our group, which is going on currently on Astro Archetypes. We reach tomorrow Venus and Mars. We're coming to the 4th meeting, and that's already halfway through it. It goes till mid-November, and there's been interest in the next one, so I put that out. And the next Astro Archetypes journey shall start right after the winter solstice new moon, which will be on December 23rd, and then there'll be Christmas and Boxing Day and all the celebrations that you might want to do. And right after that, on December 29th, I have the intention to start with you and all those who are interested in the Astro Archetypes winter journey, because we start with the introduction and the sun, as the sun has then just entered Capricorn and starting its slow climb in the ecliptic, the light returns. Okie dokie, so let me know if you're interested, and see you where we do, maybe in real life in Victoria even. Take care. Bye bye.